What if everything you've been wanting, more support, more love, more connection, has actually been available to you this entire time and you've just been blocking it? That's a hard one to sit with, I know. But if you've ever felt like you're carrying the weight of the world alone or like real connection is just out of reach, this episode is for you. Welcome back to the Higher Alignment Podcast. I'm Minty Lamb, and this is part 4 of the High Performer Mini Reset series. And we are still deep into relationships. Last week, I got really honest about what my relationships looked like when I was burnt out. Today, we're talking about what's on the other side, how things shifted at work, in my dating life with my mom, and how I went from pretty much the office bitch to basically running the therapy office. By the end of this episode, you'll understand why you might be the one standing between yourself and everything you actually want and exactly what to do about it. So let's get into it. Okay, so we're in part 2 of topic 2 of the High Performer Reset series, and we're talking about relationships. And so last week, if you haven't listened to it yet, please go do. I talked about what my relationships were before I was burnt out and what they looked like. And today I'm going to talk to you about how much they've changed, because boy, have they changed. And I can honestly say this is the part of my life that I feel has been the most impacted from it, because the reality is the quality of your life depends on the quality of your relationships. And so this current world we're living in does a lot to divide our relationships, whether you look at from like a mainstream media perspective. Everyone's trying to get you to pick a side, left, right, black, white, pro this, pro that. And then there's also things like the internet and AI. And while it has given us a lot of extra reach, I have clients all over the US and Europe, which is awesome. It also has created a little disconnect in our immediate community because I work from home and I don't work in an office. And even my clients locally, I don't see them in person. So just more so than ever, the quality of your relationships really, really impacts the quality of your life. And so knowing now what I do about how my life has changed since healing my burnout and learning to work with my nervous system and learn how to process my stress better. If I would have known then what I do now about my relationships, like, geez, I would have gotten on this a lot faster, but hey, hindsight's always 20/20, right? So what I will say is this, is once I learned how to process my stress and release it from my body effectively as it was coming in, I softened. And not in a weak way, not in a way that, made me a pushover, but in a way that was more nurturing and inviting and welcoming. And I was able to let the walls down and let people into who Mintu really was. Because I was really just a big softie. I'm a big softie at heart. I'm kind of a baby. I cry a lot, whether that be about movies or life or whatever. I genuinely just care about seeing people win. I love studying human behavior. That's why I ultimately got into the coaching space. Like I'm just a big softie. And when I was burnt out, I didn't let anyone see that because I was just always so on guard and protective. And so when I learned to process my stress effectively, what it did was it made room for more of who I genuinely was, and it let the walls down. And little did I know that would become my competitive advantage. And not because I was aiming for an edge at work, but because I now had this energy that people gravitated towards. Like, I went from being the office bitch to being like, oh, I'm having a hard day. I'm just going to go talk to Mintu for a few minutes because I know she'll make me feel better. Oh, I'm, either stuck on this problem at work or maybe just didn't sleep well. And I know if I go talk to Mintu, she'll hold space for me and not judge me. Like my office went from being don't come correct or don't come at all to being like the office therapy office, like the dealership therapy office. Like people just gravitated towards me. I was magnetizing people because now I was in like my true energy, my true essence. And it was a competitive advantage because it made me stick out because I was working with mainly men. There's only one other woman working there. Faye, bless her heart, was also incredible. But it just gave me this different energy in a dealership full of men where people, whether it be colleagues or clients, just gravitated towards me. So first off, my numbers skyrocketed. I was just producing at a way higher level, but also I was just having way deeper, genuine connection. And people just really gravitated towards me and not only gravitated towards me in wanting to connect on a deeper level, they wanted to help me more. Like um things that I would have normally done for myself. I would have stayed late. I would have worked on a file more. I would have, just gone the extra mile, which is cool. All of a sudden became like, Minty, you don't have to worry about that. Let us take care of it. Minty, go home. It's okay. Don't worry. You've done enough today. Like, why don't you go take a rest? Let us take care of that. Let me get this for you. Like, all of a sudden, everyone wanted to help me and show up for me more. And if I'm being honest, it's not because they weren't willing to before, but because I was so guarded and blocked and trying to be the strong woman all the time and not asking for what I needed, it's like I couldn't even see the help. And maybe when you're in survival mode, you have these blinders on and you can only see what's right in front of you. And it's like all these people were willing to help because they genuinely liked me and cared for me as a person. But I was so dysregulated and so blocked off that I couldn't even receive the help. Right. So now, I'm having people offer to do more for me and take things off my plate and I feel more supported. Then again, I'm having these genuine connections where, like, to this day, I haven't worked at the dealership we're going on 3 years now. I can stop in there today and I can easily spend 2 hours there just visiting with people and asking them how they are, how their families are. And even then, when I first healed my burnout, it went from like, when people would walk past my office, I'd be like, what's up? What do you need? To now like, oh, hey, Jason, how are you? How was your day? How are you feeling? And I genuinely had the capacity to care. Like, it wasn't from I'm pretending to be nice. It's like I genuinely cared about people. Right. My boss always joked about how there's like Mintu 1.0, Mintu 2.0. And like one thing, if you listen to the last episode, 1.0 Mintu didn't know how to hug properly, apparently. He'd always be like, why are you such an awkward hugger? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you're rigid and awkward and it's this weird thing. And like, granted, these guys were like my brothers. So, we'd hug on a birthday or we had a good month or just genuine human stuff, saying goodbye. And as I softened and I learned to regulate and come back to myself and feel more confident in who I was, my hugs got better. And I remember him saying, he's like, wow, like you've come a long way. But it's funny to joke about the hug, but it was just a physical sign of how I was just able to relax into who I was and be more nurturing. And again, like earn a different level of trust with people. And as you guys know, like when it comes to business, the most high performing teams in the world are because they have the best systems and that means the best trust. They really trust each other deeply. And you can only really trust someone when you know who they are at their core. And that's what it allowed me to do. Because I was taking the walls down, because I wasn't so burnt out, because I was feeling more regulated and balanced and confident in who I was as a person, my relationships improved. And therefore, work now where I was spending 8, 10, 12 hours a day became a more fulfilling place for me. I wasn't just going there for a paycheck. Don't get me wrong, the paycheck was nice, but I was going there to spend time with people I genuinely connected with and felt seen and heard by and supported by. You know what I mean? And I could do it in a way that was not forced. Okay, if you're an executive who's craving more clarity, happiness, and a sense of real inner peace in your day-to-day, make sure you hit follow so you never miss an episode. This show is here to help you lead, succeed, and actually feel good while doing it. And if something resonates today, give it a like and share it with someone else who could use a little bit more calm in their life too. If I told them I'm having a bad day or I'm tired, it was like, okay, cool, we get it. That doesn't mean Mintu's not valuable. That doesn't mean Mintu's a detriment to our team. She's just having a hard day, so we just got to give her a little space or maybe step up a little bit and offer to help a little bit more or see if there's anything we could take off her plate. Like I felt like I had a real team behind me now. And it's not because they changed, it's because I did. Because I was able to receive their connection because I let my capacity down. Like, now I'm having the guys are so sweet. They'd pull up my car and they'd start my car. And it was just, again, these seem like little things, but I was able to receive this help. The other big difference at work too was I stopped gossiping. And not because, you have a little kiki, a little ha there, here and there, but when there was came to hard conversations, I now had the capacity to actually have them. I didn't care about consulting everybody else first. I didn't care about venting to everybody else first. When something genuinely bothered me, I had the capacity to go bring it to that person and sit in the discomfort of whatever that conversation would be and approach it from a grounded, um, mutually respectful place. Like, I would say I've always been like we can go. Like I'm not afraid of confrontation, but the old Mintu who was really dysregulated would have been a little bit more combative and a little bit more reactive and be like, "All right, what's up?" And I'd come into it in a place of like, again, like, we can fight if you really want to. Where now from a grounded space, I could come in from a place of like, I just genuinely want to get to a mutual understanding. I'm also not going to sugarcoat how I feel. I'm going to say that with confidence because it's my truth. But I also know that the only way for us to really get to a mutual understanding here is for you to be truthful and me to be truthful. And at the end of this, no matter what happens, we can walk away from this in a very respectful manner. Like, I could handle confrontation from that place now. And that made me feel so much more confident and empowered in who I was at work because I wasn't trying to balance this stressed out Mintu that now had to deal with the confrontation but didn't want to, show my cards or look like I was too emotional. It was like, no, if I do have a little bit of emotion, that's okay because this is who I am and it doesn't make me any less worthy or any less capable or any less deserving of what I've created here. You know? So I just honestly felt like I belonged a lot more. And again, when you're spending that much time in a work environment, it's like, shit, you want to feel fulfilled there. You want to feel supported there. You want to feel like you're belonging to something that accepts you for who you are. Like, you got your tribe, So that was it. That was a huge difference for me. It's just that place became, sometimes they say like it shouldn't feel like a family, but it did in some aspects. Like, but from an accepting way, from a like, hey, we're all in this together. We all got each other's backs. And that doesn't mean we're going to be perfect every day, but that means we're going to show up here with the capacity to like support one another. And I genuinely now, and on the other side of healing my burnout, had the ability to support my team. And I also took a responsibility as one of the only women, because again, I had a wonderful partner, Faye, who was also there. But there's something to say to be able to hold space for that many men and support them in a way where like we're going to war together, kind of a thing. Where we got big targets, we got big things we gotta take care of. And if I can be the nurturing piece in that to put more of a battery pack in my team and in my guys, then great. And again, I was able to do that now, not from a place of force, but genuinely because I had the capacity to do so. So it just became way more fulfilling to work there and to be in that space for that long because, again, I genuinely felt like people wanted to help me. And I also felt like people saw me on a deeper level. Like, I think they always appreciated me, but it was like, I don't know, there was just more recognition there now. But again, it took me taking care of myself and prioritizing myself first so that I had the capacity to show up for me, which allowed me to show up better for them, which in turn allowed them to show up for me, which is really counterintuitive, okay, if you followed what I just said. What we usually think we have to do is sacrifice our needs for everybody else. But then we might feel like it's a thankless job or we become resentful and we feel like they don't acknowledge us when really, I just had to show them that I respect me and I take care of me. And therefore, then I was able to receive when they wanted to do that for me. You know what I mean? Like, we can't expect everyone else's behavior to change and to read our minds. We have to hold and conduct the energy with which we take care of ourselves as the tone for how everybody else approaches us as well too, right? So again, things just at work started to feel a lot lighter. I felt more empowered. I felt more confident in who I am. I felt more proud of myself because, again, I wasn't resorting to some of these more heavier energies of being tough and gossiping and complaining and bitching all the time. I was not saying I didn't have hard days, but when I had those hard days, I could process them in a healthy way where I could like free the heavy energy and get back to doing what I needed to do. And again, feel supported by my tribe. So that was a huge difference at work that I felt after healing my burnout because, again, I could just show up in a capacity that I was really proud of and feel supported. One of the biggest struggles for high achievers is they can't tell whether they're burnt out or just overly tired. That's why I created the High Performer Stress Assessment, which will assess exactly what your mind and body are struggling with and what you need to start feeling more balanced, grounded, and happy ASAP. It only takes 2 minutes to complete, and you can find the link in the show notes below. Now, on the personal side of things, as I started to heal my burnout, the type of men I started to attract changed, and it would gradually get better and better. But I was started to attract healthier relationships to the point where then I met Thomas, my fiancé now. And what I can say is I have never felt more loved or more taken care of by someone. And I say to him all the time, I'm like, man, if you would have met me when I was still in the auto world, I don't think you would have wanted to date me. And I don't think I would have dated him either because I wouldn't have been able to receive that type of man. A man that wanted to lead me. Because again, at heart, who I am is I'm a feminine, soft, nurturing woman who wants a strong, masculine man to lead. And before I was competing with those men. And it wasn't until, again, I softened and regulated and learned how to release the energies and stress that like were no longer serve me, it was only at that point was I able to really get in tune with that true version of myself, where then I could call in a man that could lead in the way that I wanted him to, and he anticipates my needs before I even do. And, I will say that the parts of our relationship that I appreciate the most is how we repair after conflict. We don't disagree on too many things, but when we do, um, those moments can feel pretty dysregulating. The way we come back after those moments makes me feel so secure in our relationship because it's easy to do easy things together. It's easy to vacate or go on vacation and have dinner and have sex. All those things are easy to do. But when you're dysregulated and your partner's dysregulated and you disagree and you're tired and grumpy and you haven't ate and you have these challenging moments, how do you come out of that? And what I can say more than anything is Thomas handles me so well and his priority is our relationship and so is mine. And so now, because I'm in a more regulated and grounded space, the old Mintu would have been like, it's all about me and proving my point, and I would have been more combative. Now, when we have those moments, I can see big picture and see what the real mission and goal is, which is our soon-to-be marriage, right? We're engaged now. So, if you would have told Mintu 5 years ago that you'd meet someone, a man like him, and that could lead you and you'd be engaged in a year, I wouldn't have believed you. Because at that time, I was attracting such surface level relationships and focusing on things that like weren't as important in the relationship. Looks, job, money, all these things like, how he responds in text messages. And don't get me wrong, those things are important, but they're not the depth of your relationship. And because I softened and reconnected into who I am, I attracted someone that has all those things. Right? But because I was able to really get to the depth of it, I look at when you're dysregulated, your life becomes very shallow, not because you're a shallow person, but that's because that's all the only depth you have. And when I think of shallow, I think just in your head, everything in your head is like do all these things going on, a million thoughts all day long. And depth comes from dropping out of your head and into your heart. Dropping from your head into your heart. And when you can get to that depth, that's where you find that true love, connection, joy, all the things that really motivate us and make our lives feel fulfilling as humans, And what I will say as well too is like now that I'm in a more regulated space and I was able to attract this partner, like, again, this is going to be more relatable maybe for the women, but I've been always in this very headstrong position where I've been doing everything for myself for so long, very independent, you know what I mean? Very intimidating, all these things, where now I don't have to do a lot of things anymore. Like, I'm a passenger princess. I rarely drive when Thomas and I are in the car together. Like, he drives 98% of the time. I never take out the garbage. I don't have to take care of the house stuff. He just like, these might sound trivial, but, like, I've always had to do these things for me, and I have a man now who genuinely believes it's his role and duty to take care of me in that way. And again, the old Mintu wouldn't have been able to receive that. I would have looked at that as like, oh, I'm being weak, or I'm too much, or I'm a burden. You have to earn your keep. And it's like, no, this man genuinely just wants to take care of me in this capacity. And I've never had that before. This is only something I was able to attract and let in because I learned how to make space for it and and have capacity for this level of connection and this level of care and love. you know he he honestly takes care of me like I've never been taken care of in my life, and he wears it like a badge of honor that it is his duty to protect me and provide for me and love me and just be the man of the house for me, and I don't have to convince him or ask him. He just stepped into that role, and I can't tell you how loved and how happy I feel with him. And not that we don't have our tough moments, of course we do. Every relationship does. I think that's the only way you know if you have a strong relationship is through the tough moments. But man, again, like Mintu, dysregulated, burnt out Mintu wouldn't have been able to receive him, even though that's what I wanted so badly. Again, I wouldn't have had the skills or the capacity or the depth to allow that into my life. So that's been a huge change. And then finally, the other piece of it is I talked about my mom in the last episode and how, you know, besides Thomas, I don't think there's anyone. And she's like, no one loves you more than me. So she'd even argue with Thomas saying she loves me more than her. Of course, I'm her baby. Um, but I was at a point where like when I was burnt out, I wanted help and connection and love and support so badly. I wanted to be seen so badly. And the one person in the world that I know could have done that for me, I shut her out. And not because I wanted to, but because, again, I didn't have the capacity to let someone in. I was just a live wire, reactive all day long. And so now I can actually sit on the phone with my mom and give her the time and love and attention she deserves. I'm not trying to rush off. I can sit with there and listen to her, whether she wants to vent or just tell me about her day or ask some silly question about her iPad because she doesn't know how to use it properly. Like, I have the capacity to be there for her in this space now. And then vice versa, I allow her to be that for me. So whether I need to cry or whether I need to vent or whether I need help with something or whether I want to share something exciting with her, she would have always been there for me. But now I have, again, the capacity to be there for her and also the capacity to allow her to be there for me, and thank God, because she's the most incredible woman in the world. But like, my point in all of this, now I hope you're seeing the theme, is like, not only do I feel more loved and more fulfilled in my relationships, people are helping me more than they ever have. And it's not because I went out and begged for it or forced them to or anything. It's because I have the capacity to allow the help in. That is one thing I see a lot with my clients when we first start working together, is whether we're talking on a more basic level of delegating or just needing help at home or just wanting someone to support them or a shoulder to cry on. They want this so bad. They want recognition. They want appreciation, but they don't realize that they're actually blocking it, right? Like, they'll be like, I don't even know how to take a compliment, Mintu. When someone compliments me, I either deflect or I, throw it onto my team or I say it's not a big deal. Like, they don't know how to receive help. They don't know how to receive appreciation or admiration or any of that. Yet that's what they want so badly. And think about it. It's not because you're like purposely deflecting. It's because your nervous system doesn't know how to do that on a healthy level, on a safe level. It thinks that if it takes the appreciation and all that kind of stuff, that it's going to somehow like, counter or fire backwards. If you're a high achiever, you probably feel the exhaustion that comes with always pushing and carrying the load. And here's the honest truth. Burnout doesn't fix itself by working harder or pushing more. You're not meant to just survive your success. You're someone who leads with impact and depth and intention, and you deserve to feel calm and connected while doing it. So imagine showing up present for your work and your personal relationships, feeling calm and grounded instead of constantly stretched. If that's what you want, this is exactly what we do in the Higher Alignment program. Book your assessment call through the link in the show notes, and let's get you back to balance and back to feeling like yourself again. People can just help me now. I let them in. I let them help me. And now I don't feel like I have to carry the weight of the world on my shoulders now. I don't feel like it's all up to me. I don't feel like if I don't do it, no one else will. I have an incredible fiance that steps up for me. I have an incredible mom that will hold space for me. I don't work with the same people anymore, but I have a team that I let carry the weight and let, not all of it, but I rely on them. I trust them. They trust me, right? That's huge, because again, when you're dysregulated, when you're stuck in survival mode, you think it's all up to you. And you think that there's no other options and you just put your head down and work. And that's how we're designed. That's what survival mode is you don't trust anyone else but you because again, there's a bear coming or whatever the case is. So you think it all falls on your shoulders, but that's not sustainable. It's draining, it's isolating, it's lonely, and you very quickly will feel resentful of the people around you, of your job, and you'll burn out. That's the path to that. You know what I mean? So connection, love, fulfillment, joy. I have so much more of that in my life now because I have the capacity to relate on that level. I have the capacity to allow that in, right? On all fronts, professionally, with my supporting life, like my friends and my family, my siblings, my parents, and now my partner, right? And it's always been easier for me on the friends and family side of things, kind of, except, with what I'm expressing with my mom. But I guess my friends, I've always had really solid friends. But now I'm able to allow that level of relation on like full circle, on so many layers and depths. Okay. But again, I had to learn how to let that in. So how did I do that? Through nervous system regulation. And it sounds so basic, which it is. It's a simple thing, but it takes consistent effort. When we're talking about healing burnout, the root cause of burnout is not because you have too much on your plate. It's because you feel disconnected within. Something is out of alignment, okay? So the root cause of burnout is finding what's out of alignment and bringing it back into alignment. But the only way you can do that is by creating safety and presence in the body first through your nervous system. Okay. So that means consistently creating safety in the body. So on a basic level, I'm very summing this up right now. What you want to do is you need to refuel your tank. You need to create moments of energy and safety in your body. So if you think about your body like a tank, okay, like a gas tank, if you're in a high performing position, you probably have a high level of stress resilience, which means you are dealing with a high level of stress all day, whether that's through the job, whether you got kids, whatever the case is. There's stressors coming at you all day. So you can deal with high levels of stress. And so what happens is you're dealing with stress. And so it comes in. But what's happening is you probably don't have the right tools or strategy to release the stress once it comes in. So the stress gets trapped in the body, okay? Now, if you think of yourself like a tank, that stress adds up to the point where that tank fills up. And this is where you feel burnt out. You feel like you're drowning. You feel like you have no capacity to relate, receive help, any of that stuff. It fills up. What we do through regulation, through regulating practices, is we give the body an opportunity to release and release and release and release. So that tank empties out a little bit. And now you have space to refuel the tank with things that are actually energizing to you. Joy, love, fulfillment, relaxation, peace, freedom, connection. Okay? If the tank's full of stress, you can't make space for that, which is why even though you feel lonely and you feel isolated and you want connection, you're like, why can't I do it? My mom's right there. Why can't I just answer the phone and have the conversation? Right? There's people there that want to help me. Why can't I receive the help? It's because your tank's too full of stress. We need to consistently release so we can welcome in more of that energy. Okay? And the only way to do that is through consistent neural exercises, regulating exercises, which means anything that brings you to the present moment. And you can't think your way into regulation. You can only act your way into regulation. You have to show your nervous system, not tell it. So you have to do it through actionable things, okay? The subconscious and the nervous system only learn through action, not through words, not through thinking. So for me, some basic practices that I execute consistently are playing with my dog. I love Oscar. When I stare into his eyes, nothing else matters. Going for walks, feeling the sun on my face, just sitting there and just letting that warm me up. Hugging or laughing with Thomas. He always brings me to the present moment. And what's a fifth thing? Oh, like music or dancing. You know what I mean? Though that shakes and releases a lot of energy to my body. So I'm doing this consistently all throughout the day. Okay. That's a big part of it. The other part of it, what I will say is if you really want to heal burnout and learn to create safety in the nervous system where it works for you versus against you, you need to do this work with somebody. Okay. And you can call this a shameless plug or whatever, but even for myself, first off, when I healed my burnout, it took me years because I was playing around with a lot of different stuff and I had different practitioners that I had worked with, but no one who had like created a course like I did per se. I was just working with different, practitioners. So I didn't have a steady journey. That's why it took me longer. But without someone to co-regulate with, without someone to point out your blind spots, it's hard to do this work. Okay, I'm just being honest because they're blind spots for a reason. You can't see them for a reason, and we all have them, right? But you need someone who can point those out, someone who can poke holes in your system, someone who can hold space for you. You know what I mean? As you're going through this process, okay? Because the reality is first off, there are a lot of practitioners out there who talk about this work but don't embody it. Like you can tell in their content that they aren't living what they're preaching. And that's really important because if someone hasn't walked in your shoes and isn't actively practicing it, it's going to be hard for your nervous system to trust them in this process. Okay. So having someone who's walk the path that you're about to walk through and who's actively doing it as well too. Um, and the other part of it is like I even just started working with a new coach too, and I've been doing this work for years, and I know what to do, but it still helps to have someone point your blind spots out for you. You know what I mean? And and the other part of it is this particular topic we're talking about relating. It's like again, my life has only gotten so much better because my relationships have improved. Like if you would have told me 5 years ago that you'd have really fulfilling relationships, not only at work, but it personally, and you'd have a partner who can anticipate your needs before you do, I'd be like, wow, like all of this is worth getting to that point because I feel so much more loved. I feel so much more supported. I feel so much more confident in who I am as a person. I feel like not everything is up to me and that I have the support that I need. And if anything ever were to go wrong, I would have a tribe of people who'd step up and support me and be there for me. You know, like it's just, this is what life is truly about. And when you're burnt out and dysregulated and you're becoming like you essentially are the block to your own blessings. And you can't see it in the moment because again, you're like, I want help. Why isn't anyone helping me? Well, it's because your blinders on. That's what survival mode does is your view gets narrowed. And so again, all this help that could be there for you're not even letting it in. You're just letting it pass you by. And that's lonely and sad. And it doesn't need to be that way. I'm telling you, I'm living proof of it. It doesn't need to be that way. Like the quality of my life now is so much better. And again, I've been able to go after my dreams, build the business that I want. Like my life has completely changed. And we'll get into that into another episode, a third topic as to how like just my day-to-day life has changed so much from before versus now. Um, but again, if you felt like that was you in that last episode with what I talked about relationships, and you even maybe wonder like, Can I have both? Can I have a successful career and still feel really fulfilled in my relationships? I'm telling you, yes, you can. Again, I am living proof of it. And honestly, when you learn to let that in, let that support in, let that gratitude and love and compassion and just being fully seen for who you are in, like, I don't have to pretend anymore. I don't have to pretend in any part of my life, business wise, um, with my family, with my friends, with my partner. I just get to be authentically Mintu, and they love me. They love me. They support me. They don't judge me when I cry. They don't judge me when I lose my shit. They don't judge me when I got some feathers to ruffle. They love the mess. They accept the mess because I've learned to love and accept the mess. Right? But again, that took me learning how to come back to my body. That took me learning how to release the stress that wasn't serving me anymore so I could get back to the things that actually mattered, like my relationships. And again, this work is not hard, but it takes consistency. It takes um it takes consistency and it takes strategy. And that's what I teach people. Again, I didn't plan for this to turn into a plug, but like that's what I help people do. You don't need to be the barrier and the block to your own success and fulfillment anymore. Like you can be the one who chooses to let all that in. But sometimes you just need a little help and you need someone to point it out for you and someone who's been there. And again, whether that's through me or a community or a mentor or whoever, all I'm saying is just like, don't feel like you're stuck where you're at. Again, this is probably the most change I've had in my life from this, and it's been the most fulfilling. And I've never felt more seen, loved, confident, heard, or empowered in my life.